Coin traders, what's going on? Thanks for joining me. Going to look at GRP, the graph protocol. So right now, looking after 5 days of pullback, bouncing off the 26 period exponential moving average. So we do look like we are going to be setting up for a little bit of that oversold bounce, and especially turning on the volume. You can see day over day decrease in selling pressure. So we do have started a little bit of selling exhaustion. So especially now that we are looking at finding a little bit of support and a lot of great targets to the downside, finding that support, we are going to expect a little bit more of that bounce. So we're going to talk about some targets in the show today. As always, if you are enjoying the show and you enjoy this type of content, drop a thumbs up on the video, and also don't forget to hit that like and subscribe so you can stay updated on all types of videos like this and various cryptos as well. So want to actually start off mostly talking about a very nice Wyckoff pattern that we do have, and that is the accumulation pattern. So if you are following along with the image up on the screen, essentially what we have right now is a consolidation point, which does align with the SOS, which stands for sign of strength on this pattern, especially after coming off of phases A. So we do have a nice pullback, another test running into phase B, which does lead down into phase C, which is our low, which we did experience back in November and the end of last year. Now running out of that into our phase D, which is the consolidation point. So if we do get a confirmation of a nice breakout, we could be looking at an extremely nice phase E to the upside for the graph protocol, if in fact we do get a lot more bullish pressure out of the rest of the crypto space. Now let's go ahead and talk about the current level of support, because if we look at price levels, for example, let's go ahead and try a price line effectively right above 14 cents, so 14.12. And then go ahead and zoom out and look left, and we can see that is a big point of resistance as well as a big point of support on this consolidation. So if we look at resistance on that consolidation period as well, we can look back now, current prices, that's pretty much where we're looking at as being a big zone where we had a lot of dipping and wicks down on each attempt and pullback from the bears to dip below that zone. So that does run up to all the way about the 15 cent level. So we know that this whole 14 cent zone is extremely supportive. And especially like we talked about, tapering off in decrease in bearish volume does mean selling pressure is getting lighter, which does mean exhaustion in selling pressure, which typically means a lot of these strong downside supports typically do end up holding up, and therefore we do see a change in a reverse in direction in that instance. So I want to actually turn off the rest of the exponential moving averages besides just the 26. So as you can see, we did find a very nice close on top of this level, a little wick down. But if we actually look to the left a little bit, very nice touch and bounce off this point, as well as finding support, resistance, and then even looking back farther, big point of resistance. So we know the 12 period exponential moving average is extremely relevant. So the fact that now we have been sitting on top of it after one and now a second test for the close on the daily is another good sign. So hopefully we can get that follow through. But like we did mention, with a lot less volume for the bears, the likelihood and opportunity for bulls to actually rally and see a little bit more growth is greater, especially if we do look at the size of the overall bodies. So on each of these bodies, we're looking at only a few percent. So about 2.5%. We're looking at about 2.3. We're looking at about 1. Just over 1.25. So the biggest one was about 4% so far, and the daily that just closed is about 3.5. So we know that this is not a very strong pullback, and especially with that selling exhaustion, it's going to be a little bit easier to see a little bit more growth in that upside because we haven't seen much exhaustion increase and intensify. So typically if we see a little bit more of those bodies increase, and we actually did see bodies increasing with decreased bearish volume, so we're not really expecting that much difficulty to actually eat up the order book, which would push prices back to the upside. And so additionally, I do want to point out several nice pattern setups. So if we look at the initial point of resistance, then you can see we were looking at that being a very nice point of support for both of these. Now, if we do look at as well, the other line to the downside, very nice trend line forming. So we would be looking at a very nice break if in fact we do see bearish or bullish continuation, out of this downtrend line pattern. But like we mentioned, selling strength does seem to be getting a little bit more exhausted, and especially finding supports. The real target is going to be upside at this resistance trend line. And so unless we do get bearish continuation out of things like Bitcoin, I would actually expect a lot more bullish pressure, breaking this trend line, potentially seeing a backtest, and then running up again as well to see that phase E in that Wyckoff accumulation pattern. So if we talk up too about supports from a Fibonacci retracement, let's go from the downside at the start of the year, at the end of last year, up to the high right now. You can see that all of the supports that we have been finding so far are bouncing off of this 50% Fibonacci retracement. So another big strong point of support. So that's another very strong signal and indication, especially after 3 tests and bounces off of this level, that the bulls are going to be heavily defending this whole entire zone. If we do want to talk about targets from this pattern, then effectively, if we do get that breakout, we would be looking, let's go ahead and scrunch this down, at an upside target of about 28 cents. So if we do put a price level and zoom out, we know that just above that is going to be the 30-cent level, which is going to be an extremely relevant level as well. So I would anticipate that a nice bullish break could end up leading to an upside move testing about the 28 to 30-cent zone. Zooming out a little bit more as well, this was also our big zone of support on the initial move just coming off of the launch for GRT. So again, for a phase E on that Wyckoff pattern, that'd be looking like a very nice opportunity to see that breakout. And so if we talk about price potential to the upside from current price points, that would be about an 83% move to the upside. To the upper zone would be about a 94% zone, or a 94% gain. So definitely a nice opportunity to see a little bit of upside if in fact that is the pattern that plays out and we get that nice phase E breakout reaching up to those targets which were previous support. Personally, it seems like a likely scenario in my opinion, but as always, a lot of that does come down to the confirmations that we do get out of Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto space. Now, I think looking at Bitcoin right now and just talking about the price potential for that, we are seeing a very nice indication of a little bit of that selling pressure being exhausted as well as a lot of dip buying on these previous levels of support. But now, if we actually run over and talk about the overall crypto market cap, then like we've talked about before, if we zoom out and put us in a long pattern, we actually are still in this longer term falling wedge. So we could still be looking at a little bit more of a chance for a longer term retracement because we have bounced off this big, heavy, not only trend line, but also this big overhead resistance line as well. So we're not out of the woods yet as far as a bull rally continuation goes. Although in the coming days, I actually do expect a little bit of an oversold bounce since we have just seen 5 days consecutively of just nonstop pullback from the bears. We are still maintaining that higher low as well as maintaining support on these exponential moving averages. So favor overall goes still to the bulls. But like we mentioned, we are seeing more signs of the potential of a bearish pullback continuing. So that is just another indication that we do need to be mindful of every downside scenario. So if we look at that in terms of GRT, then we could still be looking at the potential for a lower high since we already had our high. Pulling back effectively did set a little bit of a lower low on the shorter term trend, but then made that lower high compared to peaking out at the trend high. So now after pulling back, we still maintained a little bit of a higher low compared to the low we saw at 13.93 cents. So realistically, unless we run up and actually see a break of about 18.74 cents, we're still going to be a little bit more bearish since we would be looking at setting a lower high in that instance. And then the likelihood of pulling back to test the lows is going to start to increase. So the bullish scenario, like we said, breaking out of this downtrend line and this longer term support, ensuring that we do maintain support on top of the 14 cent to 15 cent zone. And then once we have that, seeing a lot of that follow through to break on top of 18.74 cents, making that new trend high. So like I said, after almost a full week of just nothing but pullback on the overall crypto charts, we are still expecting a little bit more bounce and a little bit more of that upside. So that is my anticipation, but as always, we could still see slippage and a little bit more room for the bears to show a little bit of that continuation. So that's why it is going to be so key and critical overall to maintain this 14 cent support zone. Do need to be mindful of the stock market as well, so we will see what happens on Monday, but overall, we are still seeing a pullback on the S&P as well as the Dow. So if we do get more of a decline on those markets as well, I would actually expect that to rub off. So unfortunately, there is that correlation. But yeah, we'll see what ends up playing out in the coming days. But overall, that is still my expectation. Let me know down in the comments sections if you do disagree or what your predictions are. If you are buying GRT, all of that stuff. Do love getting back to each and every one of you. That actually is going to go ahead and wrap it up for the show today on GRT and our little update. Thanks for all the continued love and support. Would appreciate hitting those thumbs up, like, and subscribe button if you haven't done so just yet. Stay safe, take care, everyone, and I will catch you back in the next video.